At the end of the day, I guess that's kind of the cool thing about what we do. I don't really care what the economy's doing. I don't care if it's a buyer's market, a seller's market. The only thing that those three things do for me is ultimately change strategy. If you
Hmm.
just look at the general real estate market, it's always in a wave. If you look over the last 20 years, generally investors like to buy when it goes down. And then
Yeah.
as the market comes back up, they like to sell. That's just kind of a general rule of thumb. Some investors like to buy when it goes down and then just hold on to it long term and capitalize on that long term investment side. I think most people miss the boat. It's because they only do it one way. And if you only do real estate one way, you have to hit those cycles that I'm talking about, that wave. I think it's more understanding, how do we change our approach, our strategy during those cycles. Now, at the end of the day, if I were to let's look at the economy. So inflation's high, right?
Yeah.
Interest rates are high, and it's a buyer's market. That is the ultimate situation for motivated sellers. And I want you to think about that. Who can actually help a seller that's in a situation they have to sell? Usually a realtor can't because there are a small pool of buyers. A bank can't help them. Only a real estate investor can help them. We can utilize creative financing strategies and other solutions to help solve their problem. The ultimate situation,
Wait, I'm sorry.
which
Could you repeat those two things again that were motivations?
yeah, so if you look at the economy with inflation, things just cost more money. People have less money. You have
Yeah.
high interest rates. Because of that, it's now a buyer's market where you have a limited pool of buyers. They basically get to pick and choose what properties they want, what prices they're willing to pay because of those other factors.
Yeah.
That in turn creates the highest motivation level for sellers. A normal owner of a property that was thinking about selling, but they don't have to, yeah, maybe they hold off. But what about all the other people that now have a situation where it's causing them to sell? Well, it makes it very difficult for them to sell, especially to, just a traditional buyer that generally is going to go to the bank, get financing, and close on the property. This has created a wealth of opportunity. And it is the funniest thing to me after being in this for 20 some years is that every normal person has it so backwards. Every normal person goes, "Oh my gosh, the real estate market sucks. This is the worst time to be in it." No, that's like the best time to be in it because I've got to have that seller motivation. I need a dip in prices. I need more of a buyer's market to create the motivation in order to do deals. You think about just because of all the factors that I just said, the people that are going to be in pre foreclosure because of it. You think about this, if you have a
Yeah.
vacant property in California and you have a mortgage on it, even if it's a low interest rate mortgage,
Hmm.
you're just throwing away all your money every single month while it's vacant. Well, why is it vacant? Could be it needs repairs. Maybe they don't have enough money to actually repair the house. And it creates a situation that, hey, they need to do something with it. That motivation is what we're looking for. I think so many people think, oh my gosh, they look at the general market where traditional buyers buy. We generally don't even work in that particular market. And it's hard for people to understand that that's a different world. That world is for sellers that want the most for their properties, where they have buyers that are willing to pay it. Right. So I
Hmm.
just have to understand where these cycles are coming. If I understand that, it just changes my approach. That in itself is how you do well. I'm telling you right now, there are so many multi-million dollar investors out there buying up property left and right, and you don't even hear about it. You don't hear about it because they're not advertising it. If I were to go buy a property, I don't go tell everyone I just bought a property. I'm telling you, you need to go buy properties. You need to invest in real estate, but I'm not sharing what I'm doing personally. These people are going to be taking up so many properties now all over the US. Now, each market's going to fluctuate, it's going to change a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is the opportunity for people to jump in. And if they don't see that opportunity, oh, well, this business isn't for everyone. And that brings us back to, you being in California, you're looking at these high prices. You think about, man, if you ran into a seller with a very expensive property and they have a situation, that could be deadly for that individual, especially if they lost their job or got behind on payments. Maybe they need to downsize.
Which a
Everybody's
lot of
kind of,
people are losing their jobs right now.
yeah, they're kind of stuck and they have no idea what to do. I mean, we can't live off the government. That's a never win-win solution for anyone. We have to go out there and find alternative ways to make extra income. To me, I think real estate should be that opportunity for people to see in today's market. And I'm not just picking on California, this is all over. There are specific areas that are growing even in today's marketplace, but it's very few. But I'm not necessarily looking at where the market is going up. I'm looking at where the market is going down, because that's where the pool of sellers are going to have the highest motivation. A lot of people have such a short-term memory, because what they do is they go, oh my gosh, that's a bad area. We don't want to be in that area. But yet, as the economy turns around, interest rates come down, things change 5 years from now. It's like, why didn't I invest in that area? Man, I could have bought a house here for this much, and now it's worth this much. You hear people say that all the time. And that's the important thing about understanding real estate cycles. It's a wave. It doesn't tell you to get in or out of real estate. It tells you change what you're doing in real estate. That kind of
Yeah.
sets us up now for the next couple years, which everybody should be getting excited about. That one segment right there, I'm going to put it on YouTube for people to actually see that, because
Oh, I would feel so, I would feel very special that I was part of that conversation. That was a very good segment. And honestly, also like you gotta listen to the right message. Like most people are listening to the wrong message, and then they're probably gonna come back after the cycle is over and then be like, gosh, if I had just bought property during this time that we're talking about right now,
isn't it funny
then
how we always hear that? People say that.
yeah,
I've said it, like, oh my gosh, the house that I live in, I seller financed in 2020, right when COVID hit. All these vacant lots that sit on the water near me, the price of them were like 250,000, and now they're selling for 450 during that time. That would have been a very quick home run. But you don't know until it starts to happen.
yeah,
And sometimes when it happens, it's like, oh my gosh, it's already too late, type of thing. And that's where I think a lot of risk comes with buying and holding things, especially land. You just never know. But I also understand they don't make any more land, right? So at some point, it could be developed. I think when we look at land, it's just kind of more of a long term, keep our fingers crossed and hope something happens here. Just a couple years ago, is that we are 10 years behind on development.
oh yeah, I heard that before.
We just never really caught up to the amount of people. And that's why, in a lot of areas, you're going to see apartment buildings, they're getting thrown up left and right, and people are renting. I mean, ultimately, like if you don't buy a house, you generally rent. That's kind of how we're born. Think about it. When you were born, who told you what to do? Your parents. When you
Yeah.
went to school, who told you what to do? Your teachers. When you get out of school and get a job, who tells you what to do? Your boss, right? And then after you get married, who tells you what to do? Your wife, right? So all of our lives, we're always being told what to do. And I think we kind of grow into the fact that you either buy or rent. And it took me, just the understanding and reading things in my early days to understand that, look, there's a lot of other ways to do this. If we go back to the 1980s, seller financing was like the big thing. Everybody was seller financing because interest rates were so high. So everybody was doing seller financing. And then it
That's
kind of
good
got
to know.
quiet for a while, but investors still did it. And now it's, it seems like it's been back into the arena, it's a strategy that's been around for years. This isn't something somebody just made up on YouTube one day and said, "Hey, let's go try this." This is part of how we invest. But if you're born thinking you buy or rent, you got to save up a down payment if you want to invest. You got to put 20% down. Times have obviously changed with that. But in the back of our mind, that's kind of how we're taught. And we just need to open people's minds from sellers to buyers that there are other alternative ways to actually, number one, sell your home, and number two, buy a home. If I went to a buyer today that, let's say they could qualify today, Sharif, just say they could qualify today, but they don't qualify because they don't want to pay the high interest rate. What if I told that buyer, why don't you lease option the property for the next year or two, wait for the interest rates to come down and then close on the deal? If the interest rates don't close on the deal, then you could just simply back out of the deal and not buy it. You were going to rent anyways. Why not rent the property that you actually want to live in and hopefully, be your home one day? Then I would
Very
go
good
to the
argument.
seller and say the exact same thing. Look, you can't sell today because of the pool of buyers that don't want to spend all that money. And generally speaking, a lot of the mortgages of the homes that we're talking about have a fairly low interest rate, especially compared to where the interest rate is today. So if they can't sell the property, what is the first thing that the seller says? We got to rent it. So why not put the two together, and it could be a win-win for everybody? At the end of the day, I generally say lease options need to be in a nice neighborhood. They need to be in good shape. It needs to be livable. That opportunity in itself is going to work in so many nice neighborhoods. I think generally investors think, well, if I'm going to buy a property, I got to get it at a discount. And they generally go to, what I call kind of the middle of the road neighborhoods and a little bit below where they can get that distressed situation. But at the end of the day, people in nice neighborhoods go through stressful situations too. So seller
Oh yeah.
financing comes into play in all of this as well, which I love. I know we're going to be talking more about this as we move on in the coaching with me and you, but
Okay.
this is, just a general standpoint, because I always like to put people in the right frame of mind of what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish, all of those things. I think that's a big point to say there's so much opportunity out there just by understanding these basic pieces to it.